Hello, bestie. We're doing good. I am traveling, working remotely, or vacationing remotely. I don't know. I'm down in Florida instead of cold New York, so I'm happy to be here. One of my favorite parts about working remotely is the fact that I can do this wherever as long as I have some outlets and some chargers readily available. I love LinkedIn, you know that. Well, obviously, that's why we're here talking about this today. I was really shy originally, and when I got to high school, I think that's when things started to change, where it was kind of like, I don't want to say like seeing, into my future more, but it was always about like, okay, what's the next move, what's going on? And my dad always said like people like happy, well-adjusted people, and that really like strikes a chord, because obviously the only way you can establish good connections is if you are showing up as like your true authentic self, and hopefully that is somebody that's happy, that's excited, that's interested in other people. So that's kind of been in the back of my head, and just utilizing the tools around me, specifically social media, have been honestly imperative to helping me network better.
Like, what would you say, to me if I were like, oh, hey, Gigi, like, I love your content. Can we get coffee? And, like, will you help me with my social media for free? Like,
Right.
What would you say?
Yeah, I think understanding intention and kind of like figuring out what the rapport is before you go in, or having something in mind, is really, really helpful, because without that, you kind of are like, diving off the deep end, not really knowing what kind of water, what kind of currents in the ocean or in the pool at that time. And I think honestly, like, there is a problem, especially for people that are very empathetic, that are interested in kind of like tapping into storytelling and ethos, especially because we're like, oh, we're helping people. It's our mission to help people. And we feel bad kind of capitalizing off of making other people pay for our advice when we already give it to them for free, or we want to give it to them in, a speech or at a panel, or maybe it is like a one-on-one call. And we're like, wait, actually, like, I need to, reevaluate, take that step back and figure out a way to get paid with it. And I mean, we're 23 years old, right? Like, that shouldn't be a problem, but people think, oh, when you're young, you have to do things for exposure and experience. And it's like, no, like, I've already been doing that. And I think that 5 years of experience that people ask for, like with jobs and everything, can really be subjective, right? I've been working in social media since basically 2017. When I got to USC, I joined the social media club, and I met a mentor there named Conrad Ribeiro, and he is at Google, and he's works in digital marketing and sales for entertainment companies. So definitely like very complex, but through all of these years, the one thing that stayed constant is like, how are you going to leverage marketing for your business, right? Like, how can you implement a sustainable income through social media? And having that in the back of my mind has constantly pushed me to find new ways to monetize my audience. And when people reach out, I go back to their intention and or my intention. So let's say it's like a journalist that's like, I want to pick your brain. You're like, oh, is this a good opportunity for me? Or am I just wasting my time, letting a journalist or letting a publication profit off of my advice, right? Like, that's a specific instance. If it's like a speaking opportunity at a school, right? Like, what's your relationship to the school? What's your kind of proximity to that person or to the thing that maybe you want ultimately? So I don't really have a true answer. It's just kind of like going through the thought process of what to do in those instances. And I also think if you're open to giving this advice out, kind of just thinking like, what do they really want, right? Like, if you're able to figure that question out and get straight to the point and not beat around the bush on a call, like if you're interested in having me speak and you want to introduce this whole thing, how about just saying like, hey, I, saw this one post of yours, like insert a specific link or a specific post and be like, this was very impactful for me, and I have the perfect opportunity for you if you want to come and speak to blah, blah, blah organization. What's your rate, right? Like, always being mindful that not everybody's going to give you something for free. knowing other people and knowing the teams you work with, especially as a creator, or like an independent freelancer, artist, whatever you want to call it. I work for myself, I don't work for a company. And in doing that, I work with so many different teams. And yes, I have my one point of contact, but what I think really fosters like long term relationships, and they're genuinely ones that I'm interested in, is again, one, that engagement, but two, really getting to know the teams that also contributed to it. So like imagine like I'm working on an influencer marketing campaign, which is again part of my content strategy as a creator to get partnerships. So I'm talking with that team. I also want to branch out and know maybe the talent team, or I want to know the other people in digital marketing, or the head of social media. So maybe there's some kind of like synergy with everyone. They kind of know your name, and then ultimately again they'll like you because the rapport you've built over time is like very strong, and so on and so forth. So I think that's important, but it's also like there's genuine interest, and you never know where your identities are going to overlap, and that's another thing that builds super strong community when you're looking to network with people. I noticed like I got a message this morning or last night from someone from a company that I have a partnership with, who I've never, really spoken to before, but she saw that I speak about chronic illness, and she was like researching me. She was like, oh my gosh, we have the same condition. And I'm like, that is so cool that I can network with somebody in a professional way, but also make them feel kind of like seen and heard through storytelling and through kind of speaking my truth. So that's another thing I recommend as a creator to do. I would say that one of the things that I personally like to do, which really usually again taps into people's emotion, which I think can be a good thing when you are building a relationship, and I genuinely mean it, but handwritten notes as like thank you notes or holiday cards, or like, hey, here's what I'm up to, would love to get in touch again, or maybe after they like host like some event, like just sending them like a little extra handwritten email, note, message that's not a copy and paste, like, hi, this is what I need from you, how are you doing? Like, I think that those are really important things to kind of be aware of, and also to just kind of focus in on when you want to basically keep the longevity of the relationship kind of alive. The other thing I would say is in terms of keeping track, I think all of the time, like on LinkedIn, I'll see something random from an old boss or from a company I used to work at, or maybe somebody saw an internship video I posted 2 years ago and they're like messaging me about it. And I just am very honest and open about it. And I think just continuing to again speak my truth when it comes to the workplace and what I've done has been super important. And then also checking in with like other people that are interns, or maybe other people that I've worked with, and saying like, hey, I'm doing blah 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 coming up, would love to see you there, like hope all is well, and just kind of like sending that invite as like just to go there. And at the end of the day, people are busy, like don't take it personally if somebody can't go, right? I think one thing to watch out for in these instances is like kind of insincerity when it comes to building those relationships. So like not just sending it to them and like expecting that they amplify it all the time. I think doing it and just again having discussions, like it's like a friendship, it's a relationship. Like don't be a dick, for lack of better words.
Oh no, Gigi, you don't follow her. Like definitely do that. Also, Bobby,
I encourage like all of my clients to do this, or anyone I'm coaching or working with, or you'll see this on my content, but like if your mouth is closed, your business is closed. So that's why I kind of am always like sharing these different elements of my life, and that like I've kind of built into my content pillars, into my brand. But on top of that, I think when you think about like the ego in relation to shooting your shot or in networking, you're basically like, I think I have to do this in the form of like an analogy here, or like a little story, but like if you are going to like expect that somebody's just going to come to you with silver plates of opportunities all the time, like you're effing mad. Like that's just like not going to be something that really happens unless you are an overnight star and your emails are just getting flooded all the time, right? Like with social media that can happen, but the chances that it will happen are very slim. So what you have to do is kind of flip the script and put yourself out there to see what different kinds of opportunities there might be, right? So some of those things when it comes to ego is just like making a post being like, I'm looking for talent representation right now. I'm looking for brand partnerships right now. I'm looking to, help people with their media kits right now. And without saying those things, people wouldn't be coming to me necessarily. They might, but at least I can say that I tried something and put it out there. And then on top of that, when it comes to like networking or maybe getting, a partnership even, like I sometimes send messages to my LinkedIn contacts and I'm like, hi, I'm a content creator. I really love your brand or this post I saw that your brand made because blah, blah, blah. And, I would love to potentially work together, have some ideas. Can I shoot over and like an email with some more info? And if I let my ego kind of dominate that situation, it would be like no sincerity, first of all. And second of all, I don't even know if like my ego would be okay with getting a no, right? Like you just have to pull that away and just be like, okay, like this person is not going to answer me right now. They might later, they might not. I can always follow up. I say follow up 2 times. And after that, it's just like, don't engage anymore because I think it's like a little weird. And on top of it, I think there's times where like with social media, we're comparing ourselves to everyone else all the time, especially on a place like LinkedIn where it's about your career, and career is not only about like the work that you're doing, but fortunately or not, it's how much you're getting paid. So you're seeing all of these people around you kind of having this vision of success, and it's very easy to internalize that when you think you want what they have and you're not like being proud of what you have in the current moment. So just constantly reminding yourself like how much you're doing and what you're doing in the world, and having people like you like supporting and constantly reminding me or whatever, your friend or each other about the work that you're doing, I think is also really important. Kind of like an accountability partner. And if not, grab a whiteboard, grab a journal, write all the shit you've done out in a month, and after that you'll be like, damn, I'm really proud of myself. I need to cut myself some slack and not let my ego bully me. Comparison is the thief of joy, and joy being the work that you actually like doing and like spreading that in your network. So I say, fuck that, fuck the fear there. Write out all of the things that you really want to do, like Bobby was saying. And then from there, literally just like start making a post. One thing that I like to do when people are like, I don't know how to make my first LinkedIn post. And I did this a couple of weeks ago. I had Danielle do it last week, but basically writing out like, hey, LinkedIn community, what do you follow for? Or like, what are you interested in hearing from me? And putting it as a poll. So you literally have quantifiable data that you can like look at and be like, oh, okay, people want to learn blah, blah, blah from me. Or if you wanted to go even more specific after you get to that generalized, like, different categories of what people want to see, you can go, okay, I'm going to talk about photography. What kind of video or what kind of how-to content would you be most interested in? Let's pretend it's about photography. Would you want to know photography for brand deals? Would you want to know basic, like how to use a DSLR? Would you want to know how to use an iPhone? Or is there something else that I can teach you? And then that's a way to start sparking a conversation, again, based on the interactive elements of that post, but then people can comment in your network, and then you can again show your expertise. I'm going to give you some tough love, like get out of your comfort zone, write it out on paper what like your goals are with it. And in terms of reaching out, like start by building your community and figuring out your personal brand and your brand voice and your expertise. And then from there, find those 30 to 50 people that are kind of like on your, what I call a hundreds list of like, who would you love to talk to? Who would you love to, create content like? Because truthfully, like you're never going to create content like one specific other person. It's always going to be unique to you. But if you have an inspiration source, that's always good. So make that list and then kind of like think of your values and then start just like posting, and then slowly people will engage, reach out to them, like thank them, and just like have conversations, right? Like I think we put all of this pressure on networking because we want to get something from somebody else. and like the stakes are high when you're like networking. But if you just have conversations, and again, you're like confident, you're well adjusted, you're like happy and excited, it'll make other people excited naturally. In college, especially, it's a time where everyone, again, is getting that internship and you're comparing yourself to others, and oh, you're working at blah, 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 studio or whatever firm. And it's like, why am I not doing that? And it's like, not about that. It's like, how can you get what they want? And how can you use that as motivation to maybe like, again, just be like, hey, how did you get there? You never know. Someone has like an in, or they want to introduce you to like your recruiter. The amount of resumes I've sent off to like a recruiter or somebody who works at one of those companies is like a lot. And that's because I do it because like I genuinely care. And like also some people are looking to fill positions, and you never know what somebody is going to like need. So I always had friends who kind of like made fun of LinkedIn and like how I was like always posting. And, now I'm like a LinkedIn creator. It's kind of like, haha, F you. Like when I announced that was one of my most viewed posts. And then on top of that, being vulnerable, talking about burnout, mental health, chronic illness, in whatever I'm doing in the social media space actually always performs better than the ones that are an announcement of, oh, I got this new role, or I'm doing, this partnership, or here's how like a how-to. It's always the posts that are more vulnerable, because again, that strikes the storytelling aspect of LinkedIn, which I think it so desperately needs. And in a world where we're always just posting about like the good, people want to see the bad because they experience it too. So making sure that you're not making all of your posts like that, but like if there is a time where you're struggling, like post about that, or don't, or be like, you don't have to post in the moment. You can wait. You can like follow up with it. You can post it an hour later, a day later, a week later. People aren't like, social media is like not real, and LinkedIn is social media. I love LinkedIn. Always have, always will. It costs literally nothing to support us, and you can just do that by engaging and following with us across our platform. So yeah, gonna blast. But thanks again, party people.